YouTube. You're all stars. So Jen's going to advise me when we're ready to go, and then we'll start the meeting. Okay.
We're live, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Jen, and welcome volunteers and some members of our staff to our Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting. I'm really pleased that we're able to bring us all together. I know it's difficult sometimes during Zoom, but we're all getting used to this after 1 year of dealing with COVID, aren't we? So really happy that we're all here, and this is sort of our introductory meeting to get things started. And so we have a pretty simple agenda, to be quite frank, today, just to talk about a couple of the issues of economic development for Clearview, as well as to get to know you folks as our volunteers and want to hear some of your thoughts about economic development in our community. Briefly, just to introduce, we'll start with our introductions. And so I'm going to go to Judith first. Judith,
No.
tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are situated here in beautiful Clearview.
I am a, I guess, lifelong Creemore resident. I was away for about 10 years with school and whatever, but born on Fairgrounds Road. So public school, high school, all in Clearview. Went to Guelph, did agricultural business, worked in that field for 10 years before moving home and completed my MBA while I was working full time. And since then I've moved back to Creemore, married and one daughter, and I am the controller for Steer Enterprises.
Excellent. And Steer
Cover everything?
Yeah, Steer is becoming a major employer in our community. So thank you for all the work that you guys are doing down there. So good job. Good job. I'm going to go to Jen next. Hey, Jen.
Hi.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're situated in beautiful Clearview.
For sure. My name is Jennifer White. I am one of Creemore's newest residents. I moved into the new Mary Street development about 6 months ago. So my background was, I came out of Pickering, so moved out of the suburbs. My journey to Creemore was a long one. I've been trying to move into this community for about 10 years. It has taken this new development to be able to get me the house that we wanted and the place that we wanted to be all of our lives. So happy to be here. In terms of my background, my specialty is marketing. I am currently the Director of Destination Marketing for Hilton Worldwide. My remit is for managing the marketing for all of Canada, as well as the Northeast Seaboard. So sort of Washington, Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. I work out of my beautiful home office at the back of our property, and happy to be here.
I love the color of your wall there. Look at that.
Thank you.
Beautiful paint. That looks great. Well, welcome. I'm really glad to have you here, and it's nice to talk to somebody who's in the new homes there on Mary Street. That's exciting for our community. So welcome. Great to have you. Bill Roskar. Bill, you're our next person I want to hear from. Nice to see you again, sir. Can you tell the committee a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am an auctioneer. I run an equipment auction up in Durham, outside of Clearview, but hey, can't be everywhere. It's very successful and going quite well. And I'm also been around Steiner for the last 10 years. I'm with the Kinsman Club, and we try and do a lot of good things around town. I guess we don't always get it right, but we're working on it. Yeah, and that's about it. I've been on economic development committees before. Once when I was in Markham. That was a long time ago, and we were on the committee that actually brought Markham the Silicon Valley thing. That's when they were just starting, and we were looking for that, and we went out and found it. So it was a good deal for them. But I'm here now.
That's great, Bill. Thank you very much, and also thank you to all the work you do in the Kinsman Club in our community. So that's a great volunteer organization. So we absolutely appreciate that partnership. That's great to have you as volunteers. Now, Barry Burton, you can go ahead and introduce yourself too, just so everybody knows why you're a big part of this.
Okay, so I'm your deputy mayor. I live in Creemore, beautiful downtown Creemore, and everybody, you know, when they're on their phone, you're giving your credit card and they say, "What's your address?" And I always say 26 Edward Street West in beautiful downtown Creemore. So I always respond. I'm in my second term as deputy mayor, so I've been in Creemore for 14 years, coming this summer, and so this is my second term as deputy mayor. I just finished my 2-year term as deputy warden for the county of Simcoe in December, and I'm also a provincial commissioner on the Niagara Escarpment Commission representing the county of Simcoe. And a whole bunch of other, and I sit on the Economic Development Committee for the County of Simcoe as well. So
That's great. Yeah, I was hoping you're going to get to that because Barry is a member of the Simcoe County EDC, so that's a big part of it. So anyway, well, thank you very much, volunteers. So we do have an agenda, so we'll get moving, and we don't want to hold up our staff members here who've given us some time here today. So council, we have an agenda, and so part of our procedures is to simply just approve the agenda. So I'll read it, ask for a mover and seconder, and we'll simply vote. And so voting at this meeting is simply just by raising your hand, and as the chair, I'll recognize you. Okay, so approval of the agenda recommendation, be it resolved that the Economic Development Advisory Committee hereby approve the agenda dated the March the 9th, 2021 as presented. So that's where I asked for a mover and a seconder. Somebody who wants to move that. Obviously, the deputy mayor knows how to do that. Bill Roskar is going to second it. Is there any questions about the agenda? All right, seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor, you just raise your hand in support. Thank you. So that carries unanimous. Thank you. So at this point, I want to go to our committee workshop. And this is just because you guys are new volunteers with us. I've asked Kayla to step up and just give us a little bit of a review of some of the responsibilities as a volunteer as part of a committee that you may or may not be aware of, and she'll help you out here. And as I said before, she's a secret weapon. She knows all about this type of stuff, so she knows exactly what to do. So you can always go to her if you have a question. Kayla, the floor is yours for a minute.
All right. Good evening, Economic Development Advisory Committee. Thank you so much for inviting me to your inaugural meeting. It's nice to meet everyone, and I thank you for your desire and willingness to volunteer your time to a township committee. My name's Kayla Reimer. I'm the committee coordinator with the Township of Clearview, and I work in the clerk's department. We're basically the police, the rule setters, and we'll follow those. I've been in this role for almost 3 years now. Tonight, I'm here to review some of the rules of procedure bylaw, and some of the basic rules of order. As you know, through the application process for this committee, Clearview Council creates, advertises, recruits, and appoints citizens to serve on a variety of boards and committees. The Economic Development Committee has their own terms of reference, as is seen on your agenda tonight. These are the guiding principles, purpose, scope, and authority of the committee, and should be referred upon and reviewed at least annually to ensure relevance. Basic process. So committee meetings are very similar to council meetings, a little less formal, however, still governed by the same process, our procedure bylaw 12-19, which is available on the website. The town uses Robert's Rules of Order if there's ever a question regarding the process that's not covered in the procedure bylaw. I do have a cheat sheet if anyone is interested in the Rules of Order. Meetings should be scheduled in advance. Annually is nice, but that's not always the case, and that's at the discretion of the committee. There are exceptions for special meetings, of course. Meetings are always open and advertised to the public unless stated otherwise in closed session, which there are other reasons and I guess reasons to go into that, which we can discuss later if you're interested. There are a number of minimum requirements, such as posting on the township website and providing at least 48 hours notice to allow the public to participate. Meetings must have a majority of the members present, which is 50% plus one. This is needed to hold a meeting, pass resolutions, and move business of the committee forward. Agendas. Jen has provided a wonderful agenda for this evening's meeting. You'll notice that there are some items that seem irrelevant to tonight's meeting. They're placed there as staple items. They're items that'll be repetitive in almost all agendas and provide the committee with a sense of what to expect and a place to put issues that may arise. As the committee meets more often, the members may wish to add or remove items as they relate to the business of the committee. Agendas are created in conjunction with the chair about 10 days prior to the meeting. If a committee member wishes to have an item added to the agenda, it's recommended that they submit their request in that same time frame. The chair, at their discretion, will communicate with the administrative support, Jen, to have the item added. Under the heading Approval of Agenda, this allows for edit of the printed agenda, so to add, remove, or alter agenda items before passing a motion to approve the format of the meeting. The agenda is posted a minimum of 48 hours. This is post earlier, if you'd like, is at the discretion of the committee. However, best practice is a week before to ensure adequate notice and to make sure that everybody is prepared to attend the meeting. Motions are required for the approval of minutes and authorization of expenditures as defined in the Municipal Act and Procedure Bylaw. However, it's best practice to pass motions for items which an action is being performed on behalf of the committee. In your instance, maybe a recommendation to council. All motions require a mover, a seconder, and a majority vote to be carried. You'll notice that Mayor Measures will always ask for somebody to make that move, as he cannot as the chair. Pecuniary interest and the code of conduct. So you may have noticed on the agenda a declaration of pecuniary interest and the nature thereof. This is the portion of the meeting where a committee member may disclose a direct or indirect pecuniary interest in a matter that's before the committee's consideration. Pecuniary interest is, simply put, the potential of directly profiting or losing money for themselves or a relative. Any member who, I mean, it can go a little bit more into detail. That's just a very brief overview. A member who has such an interest must declare the interest, must refrain from attempting in any way before, during, or after to influence voting on the matter, remove themselves if possible from the portion of the meeting while the topic is being discussed as to not to contribute to the discussion. They are not to participate in the vote should a motion be brought forward, and you must complete and submit a pecuniary interest form, which you can get from any of us, and I will give access to Jen for that as well. All council, board, and committees require and follow a code of conduct as legislated by the Municipal Act. The local boards and committee code of conduct is also available at clearview.ca. The document covers 16 rules. Some of them include avoidance of conflict of interest, confidential information, improper use of influence, and member conduct, just to name a few. The document's one of a living nature and has potential to be updated as the municipality sees fit. Council has appointed the services of Principals Integrity, Jeff Abrams and Janice Atwood-Petrovsky. All boards and committees have access to the advice from the Integrity Commissioner, who is independent of the township. The information disclosed to the Integrity Commissioner, whether for advice or during an investigation, is confidential. So nobody in the township will know that you've accessed this, and we won't ever get record of it. The advice received, if followed, is binding. So I hope I've not completely confused you and you're more comfortable with meeting process and procedure. Your chair, Mayor Measures, is extremely versed and knowledgeable in the process and procedure. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or would like any additional information on the exciting world of process or procedure, don't hesitate to contact me directly. All of my information is located on the staff directory page of the Clearview website. Is that clear as mud?
Everybody good? If you have any questions to Kayla, you go ahead and bring it up, or any questions of this. It's just a little workshop to give you an update on some of the responsibilities of the Clearview Township, because it is a government committee. Anybody got any questions?
It's pretty standard procedure.
Pretty much, Bill. You know, if you've been part of the Kinsman Club for a few years, you know that there's a bit of a procedure, right? And how to do things. And some people get a little scared with the whole declaration of pecuniary interest. It's not a big deal. You know, if you're financially connected to one of the decisions we're making here, just bring it up. That's all you got to do.
Yeah,
So,
and if you're ever in doubt, just bring it up, and at least then it's recorded and you can move forward.
and of course, all of this is for the protection of you as volunteers as well. So that's an important aspect. Kayla, thank you very much. Unless there's anything further, Barry or Bill, Judith, Jen, any questions of Kayla? Way to go, team.
Nope.
All right, so we're going to carry on then with the meeting, and I want to thank you, Kayla, for that portion of the meeting. And so at this point, I will ask, is there a declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? And seeing none, I would say, as always, if there's anything that comes up, just bring it up during the meeting at any time. Thanks, guys. All right, we're going to do a quick review of the terms of reference. I hope that you guys all had a chance to look at that. It was a document that was sent to council. Thank you. Well, thank you, Kayla. She's taken off. Council reviewed this, and to be honest, it was put together by our former CAO under the guidance of Jen Kane Percy, and council then adopted it. And so if there's any questions or anything in here about sort of our role, this is a good time to bring it up. And as Kayla said, we can always amend this or ask for an amendment at council anytime. So you guys got any thoughts or questions about the terms of reference for this committee? Again, this is introductory meetings. Any thoughts? You're all shaking your heads. All right, good. So it's good to have, and it's also good to review once in a while, just so that you know kind of where we're trying to take this this committee and what sort of parameters we can and cannot exercise. The key thing to remember is it's an advisory committee. Kayla mentioned that, and we will ask for motions. We will come up with brilliant ideas. We will come up with suggestions, and everything we do through the minutes of this meeting can then be presented to council for council to ratify and support. So we have the ability to bring forward some pretty good recommendations so that all members of council can then support your recommendations. And so it's a good way to have a communication with the public, who you folks are representing, and then take that to the councilors who are responsible for the actual expenditure. So spending is a good point, which brings me right into why I have Kelly McDonald with us. And Kelly McDonald, as I mentioned, is our treasurer. So one nice thing that we can recognize, committee, is that although Clearview Township has not had an active EDC style committee for perhaps upwards of 6 years, prior to that, we did have a very active committee. And council, gosh, Kelly, it's got to be 10, 15 years ago, created a bit of a reserve account for economic development activities. And the nice thing about this is you're about to learn from our treasurer that we actually have some funds available that we could use if grant opportunities come forward from the provincial or federal governments, or programs need some support that economic development can support, or if we wanted to do some direct expenditures, there are some funds available. So I asked Kelly to join us. Kelly, like I said, will not be regularly joining us as a member of this committee, but I wanted you to know as this kickoff where we stand as a committee as far as what parameters we have for actual expenditure asks of council, as well as what the objectives would be of some of those funds. So I'll turn it over to Kelly McDonald, who's our treasurer, and she can fill you in.
Thank you, Your Worship. Glad to see everybody. Welcome aboard. I'm thrilled. You actually have a finance officer on board as well. The committee itself has $50,000 budgeted for 2021 expenditures. But as the mayor mentioned, we have quite a substantial reserve set aside, approximately $300,000. So if some absolutely amazing, fantastic opportunity comes up with some sort of matching funds grant or something along those natures, please don't back away from it. I'm always a phone call away. Terry's a phone call away. Jen's probably half a phone call away. So reach out to us at any time. But the standing budget for the committee itself is $50,000.
So Kelly, could you explain the fact that we have a CIP program, a Community Improvement Plan program, that is through this committee, but it's not managed directly by this committee today. So could you outline where that funding comes from and what that program does, Kelly?
Absolutely, Your Worship. There's two programs actually going on. There's a Community Improvement Plan, and that's managed by Mayor Burton, who is our Director of Community Services. And that is also, I believe that is the one that receives grant funding from the county. There's also a downtown beautification project that's also under her management. So that's another one of those projects that, again, is currently under the direction of the community services, but again, may welcome, there's no may, would welcome ideas from this committee as well.
So, yeah, Barry, go ahead. I was hoping you were going to explain some of that. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, so I would just add that the County Economic Development Committee has recommended that they go with the economic development beautification grants. So it's $50,000. So it's available for 2021 as well. We got it in 2020. It's available in 2021. It is 50,000, isn't it, Kelly? I should know, but I'm pretty sure it's 50. I know there was talk about increasing it, and I'm trying to remember all these numbers in my head. And I have advised Mara to, apply for it to get us that $50,000. So if we don't apply for it, we don't get it. So it's pretty much easy to get, but so that's county. Give you a little bit of an idea of county. I think county's reserve is around, I'm going to say it's just under $1 million, if I remember correctly. I'd have to check. It's quite high. We have quite a large reserve at the county for economic development. But it's being spent. It's being spent on a regular basis because of the COVID thing. So part of the county economic development committee is to help, the municipal economic development committees and all our municipalities to help, develop and increase economic development. So that's what I can tell you. Okay, that's the short version. So
thanks, Barry.
And there may be some very exciting opportunities coming up because the provincial funding for this kind of downtown open spaces is really ramping up. So it's a great opportunity to jump in and look at all the opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah, so first of all, on the downtown plan, that's right. The province has put a bit of a flown the flag, I guess, that they want to do some investitures in downtowns. And that's good news. And the county of Simcoe is supporting that. And we have some reserve funding available for us to do that too. So what that means is that, the community assets that are owned by the township, such as our sidewalks and poles and that kind of stuff, are things that we can look at through council and give direction to council or ask council to consider those things as part of the assets of the community and how we can enhance, business or business operations. And so that's the sort of the resources that are owned by the township. The other program that Mara looks after is actually the community improvement plan. That one's actually interesting because those are private individuals who own buildings that are in downtown cores or in commercial areas across the township that can apply for funding through a grant program that we can assist them with some renovations. So, when you hear about downtowns getting facelifts on the front of buildings, or somebody changing the lighting or changing the door on their storefront, and they got a little bit of funding from the community, that's that fund. So the community improvement fund, the community improvement plan, as I said, we don't have an EDC committee for the last 6 years, so it's been managed by Mara Burton and her department. And to be honest, I'm hoping that I will bring her forward as one of our guest staff members on this in this committee sometime, and she'll be able to explain the whole program a little bit better. The good news is that we've had some great successes here in Clearview with some community, individuals who are property owners who've done some great renovations and received some funding to help them do that. Some of them are like windows or the signage or lighting or that type of thing, and it all helps with businesses, giving them an opportunity to put their best foot forward as welcome them to the community and welcome their clients and guests and visitors. So it's a good investment of community taxpayers' dollars because it supports the commerce of the community, and that's important. So, you guys got any questions so far? So far, I'm doing a lot of talking. Has any thoughts on those two programs? Terry's going to say something. Hello, Terry.
Thank you, Mayor Measures. Yes, and also just to add, and again, not to overcomplicate this. So there is the downtown beautification project that Mayor Burton manages. There's also the community improvement program, and also there's a Stainer downtown revitalization project that's going on. So there's kind of 3 projects going on, and they get a little confusing. And sometimes, folks mix match those 3 projects up. But The downtown project is mainly for Stainer. It's a 3-phase plan that council has adopted. And right now we are in phase 1. So there's actually 3 different projects.
Yeah, there is, and he's absolutely right, because the Main Street revitalization plan applies to our Main Street cores, whereas the Stainer downtown plan specifically is for Stainer. So there are some programs that are available, and Terry's right. We did just apply recently for a grant. Terry, what was the name of it again? I've just forgotten it. You just applied for a grant, right? Federal money, I think it was.
It was, yeah, community open space, Kelly, is that what it was called?
That's the word, yeah. Open space.
We applied, it was a $250,000 maximum grant.
Yeah. So as a result, committee, there's some opportunities here. We have some financial resources that can be applied to help us make some decisions and bring advice to council on what we see. So we have some tools. I mean, this committee is not starting out with $50 in our pocket, so to speak, but we also want to be respectful of taxpayers' money, which is what this is. So we want to bring forward some good advice on some programs. And so a little later on in the meeting, that's where we're going to talk about some of our visions and some of your visions as to what you would hope an EDC committee could do. So that's good. Kelly, is there anything further on your finances that you want to update to us?
So I think we kind of covered everything sort of quickly in a nutshell, but again, I'm always available to come back to the meetings if there's something specific that the committee needs help with.
Okay. So the key numbers to remember is that there's just a little better than $300,000 in a full reserve that can be accessed by motion of council to support something significant. If we were to get a grant, oftentimes provincial or federal grants require matching dollars to make a grant work. So we have the ability to do a little bit of that. We have a $50,000 fund that we operate on an annual basis. Anything that's left over from that $50,000, I believe by bylaw, just gets transferred back into the reserve. So our reserve continues to build. So if we spent $40,000 this year and still had $10,000 remaining, that would just get moved into the reserve. So that's a good thing. And we have some funds available in those other 2 programs that we mentioned, as well as the one Terry's working on. So that's the finance update. Any thoughts? Okay, Bill, you want to write the check? You ready?
Sure.
Attaboy. Okay. So that's it for finance. And Kelly, you don't have to hang out with us the rest of the meeting if you don't want, but I know it's taking up your time and appreciate you joining us. I'm always happy to have you.
I will step out. As I said again, if you have any questions, please call me. I'm extension 236 and I'm available anytime. So welcome to the team.
Thanks, Kelly. All right, Terry, I've asked, this item is item number 8 in our agenda, and I've asked Terry Vashon to join us. As I mentioned in our brief introductions around the room, Terry represents the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department. The other side that's part of his worry is tourism. And the tourism office, which is located in Stainer, and the tourism staff, who are mostly our summer students, have been amazing assets to our community. Every year, there's always something fun going on with that group, and they've really demonstrated they're an asset. But Terry is the manager responsible for the entire department. When COVID hit, tourism, as you know, came to a halt. All of our activities stopped, and we, as a community, turned to Terry and his staff and said, we are going to need some help. And they're very creative people, and they turned it around quickly to pivot into EDC type work, assisting local businesses and assessing needs. And so I've asked Terry to join us so he could review some of the work that his staff have done, as well as some of the programs that they have ongoing. And this is for your information and so you know what's going on behind the scenes. Terry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Measures. Yeah, so like Mayor Measures said, I'm the general manager in charge of the Parks, Culture and Recreation Department. Fun fact before I talk about some of our programs, I am from Cochrane, Ontario, and I actually used to be like you volunteers. I used to sit on the Economic Development Committee in Cochrane. Did that for 7 years, and then I also became the Economic Development Officer for the community. I don't even know if Mayor Measures, even Deputy Mayor Burton even know that. I really enjoyed it, but my community back then moved me into recreation, and no disrespect to ECDev, but recreation is much funner. So I really enjoy my job that I'm doing now, and I have we have an excellent team here in Clearview. Amanda Murray is our tourism coordinator. We think she's fantastic. A lot of the ideas in the programs I'm going to talk about today, a lot of it it's all Amanda. She really has a creative mind and knows how to pivot when we have to. So I'm going to look down. I have a few briefing notes that I'm just going to kind of capture here. So if I'm looking down, it's because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So like Mayor Measure said, last year, actually March 17th to be exact, most of our events, most of our tourism initiatives got canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We did have a bit of a Canada Day celebration, which was our first attempt at a virtual event through social media. First time we've ever done that. It was kind of neat and kind of weird, but it was something. A lot of our other community events, such as the duck race that the Kingsmen put on, and a lot of the other major events we had, they all got canceled one after the other. And it was very unfortunate. There's a lot of volunteers that put a lot of work and effort into these events and these tourism initiatives. And it all came to a halt, and it happened pretty quick. One of the programs that we did was a campaign called Taste of Clearview. It was a bit of a restaurant promotional campaign, and it was designed to try to get folks to get out to the restaurants when we were able to back in 2020. So it was a very successful campaign. Most of all the restaurants got on board, and it was mainly an online type of campaign, trying to, capture folks through social media to get them out into our restaurants. Also, there was a rural lights and winter lights program that we did amongst all the little communities. You might have seen a lot of additional Christmas lights this year that was added to all the little hamlets. There were some snowflakes and some reindeers. So again, just trying to bring spirits up during a very awful time with this pandemic. Also, our tourism department really pivoted. As soon as we were able to reopen, back then there was a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, if you recall. Now we have these famous colors. But when we were able to open up, we were able to put a lot of emphasis on supporting the recovery and the reopening of our tourism and hospitality sector. Some of the economic development initiatives that we did included a campaign called, again, Local for Lunch. It was designed to, again, get folks into our restaurants, get them into our bed and breakfasts, into our facilities to help them. We also created what we call the Business Reopening Toolkit. Again, a very successful program. We created approximately 110 toolkits that included a variety of items, hand sanitizer, those nice little happy faces that you see on the ground and in stores and restaurants, which kind of guided folks through the facilities. And those were very well received. Again, they went off the shelf right away. We were asked by many to, they wanted more kits. So that was a pretty neat initiative. Again, we never did that before. It was something new. And it was something that was provided between May and July of 2020. In 2020, we really had a lot of emphasis on our trails and parks and open space. As you recall, we couldn't really meet indoors, but we were able to get outside. So a lot of our advertising and our programs were based on trying to get folks outside, which I think will continue. I don't think it's a COVID-19 specific initiative. Our department feels that this is something that's going to grow. Folks were, I think they're going to go back outside and enjoy the outdoors. So again, the eco park that we have in Stayner, it's been extremely busy. We're now seeing a lot more activities and a lot of volunteers coming out. and they want to grow it. The coming in 2021 will be the community garden. This has been a program that's been outstanding now for a couple of years. And like I said, volunteers are now showing up and they want to get it going. So we're seeing a lot of activity in the outdoors, which we feel is fantastic. We did create some videos with one of our partners called the RTO7. You folks in economic development, RTO7 will become a huge partner of yours. They have a lot of marketing, a lot of tourism dollars for you, Jen. I think you're going to, with your marketing background, I think you're going to, RTO7, if you're not aware of who they are, they're going to be a big partner. So we partnered with them. We created 3 videos for the Devil's Glen Provincial Park, for the menacing wetlands, and also the Clearview Eco Park. So really, really neat videos, again, done through Amanda's office, spearheaded through Amanda. She was part of the videos, and again, a lot of outdoor activity. Finally, again, another one of our partners that we worked with is the South Georgian Bay Tourism Association. Amanda sits on that committee, and a recovery and resiliency planning initiative was done in conjunction with them. A lot of funds was raised by a lot of the business sector, ECDEV committees from different communities in the South Georgian Bay area. And again, it was really well received. It's going to happen again in 2021. Again, a very exciting program. And at some point in time, we will have Amanda on one of your committees as well to explain to you a lot of the programs that South Georgian Bay Tourism do, and a lot of the tourism and marketing initiatives that they put on. Again, we're very, very busy. You would think in a pandemic we would not be busy, but actually we've probably been busier than ever. Again, we've had to be creative. We've had to pivot quite often, and unfortunately, we don't think we're out of the woods yet. We may have another summer yet of events that are going to be canceled. And again, our department, as well as your committee, we're here to help. We're here to help our business community, and we're here to help our citizens, and hopefully more new creative ideas come forward. So pretty much that, Mayor Measures, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thanks very much, Terry. That's a lot of information you guys are consuming. If you got any questions of Terry and some of the programs and some of the work that the staff have been doing, you guys got any thoughts? And yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, just a quick question, Terry. Thank you for sharing that rundown. How do you measure success of programs? So you were mentioning lots of both experiential, in-store, and then sort of social and video. So how do you sort of measure that success?
Yeah, measuring success is always a tough one, Jen. Excellent question, and thank you for that. We don't really have a tool yet, like an actual tool to actually measure the success. There's a lot of data that gets captured in the background, and a lot of feedback from our partners, that help us and guide us. But we don't actually, to my knowledge at this point, don't have that actual tool to really gauge, to say, it's completely successful, it's mildly successful. But we're working on that. There is a variety of tools out there. On behalf of Clearview, our partners such as South Georgian Bay Tourism, they may have some different tools to help them gauge that success. But at this point, for these programs specifically that I mentioned, we don't really have any tools available to us. It hasn't really been gauged at that level.
Thank you for that.
I agree with you, Terry and Jen. That's a really good point. Measuring the success of any of these programs is based on the simply the feedback you get from the people that are either participating, or from the comments that you hear from people who have either observed it or seen it. And Terry, you brushed over it very quickly. I want to share with you one of the things that I personally have noticed, and people have come to me as the mayor and noticed, and that is those circles that are on the pavement or in the door, say stand here, and they got the 2 footprints. It kind of looks like a happy face, Clearview logo. I mean, people immediately adopted that as a policy when you stand in line to stand on the dot. But I think it's particularly brilliant for us and all of our community, businesses that have adopted using our Clearview logo, that it's now, right here in our community. And I think that's great that all the businesses have adopted it. So much so, Terry, that I've had businesses call me and say, these things have worn out after a year. I'd like to get some more, so I'd like to get them printed again. And so, and then the other thing too, I've had people come and ask me about getting this, like they want a little mask with the logo on it. Like they want these things. And I think that says that there's interest in the programs that we can do to help people. And they see that, that the catchphrase that we're all in this together, right? So how do you measure that success? The fact that a lot of people have recognized it, seen it, and we're getting success by showing that Clearview Township is supporting these local businesses. So how's that, Jen? It's a tough answer, but that's a difficult thing, isn't it, about economic development? How do you really judge it? So, yeah. Anybody else with any other questions or comments? Questions of Terry? Yeah, Terry's got more.
Actually, you know what? Jen's question kind of, brought up a question for myself. And again, we're always open to ideas, in our department. So, Jen, if ever you do have some good creative ideas on how to measure success on programs like that, these committees are excellent for that kind of stuff. So, if ever you do have some ideas, please feel free to share it with us. My emails are on the website, and we're always open to wanting to obviously grow and get better. So, yeah.
Anybody else with any questions of Terry or comments? Have you, let me ask you, Judith, have you seen those dots? Do you have them in your storefront? Those place things?
I have seen them. I didn't install them.
Okay.
I couldn't put them on my floor. My brand new floor.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Very brand new, I know.
Yeah, it's like I picked the colors for that floor, and I'm like, I can't put a sticker on them. And our traffic was manageable. Like we're not like a retail, we have our retail front, but not like a storefront, like a Foodland or something that we had to manage people that way. So, but I did see them, like them. Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for that. Actually, the other aspect of that kit too, I guess, included a big jug of hand sanitizer and so on. I mean, I got to tell you, Steve Sage, our former CAO, was able to secure a partnership with a local producer who was making hand sanitizer. And so, if I'm not mistaken, Terry, we received quite a pile of that, didn't we? That we're able to then distribute it far and wide. So, this shows that everybody was helping out, and so it was a great thing. That's great, Judith. Thank you for that. Bill, have you seen those dots in the community when you're standing in line?
I have, and some of them are, like you said, they're starting to wear out. So.
So I think it's a good program.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill.
I remember years gone by, they were shaped like ducks, little duck feet. Do you remember those?
Yes, I do. I remember that. Yeah.
That was before COVID.
That's great. Anyway, it's sometimes the simplest little thing that can bring great success to us, right? We can spend all kinds of money and do a CIP program and replace windows and lights and everything in a downtown store, and yet we do a simple thing like that, and it creates very positive thing for the community. So, anyway, I think for the time being, while we're still in COVID, that the resources of both Terry and Amanda and everybody else who works, actually, just as a side note, the staff at our youth center are amazing as well. By the way, they've also pivoted to be very supportive of our youth. And Barry, you're a member of that committee, right? They've created some kits to help.
Yes, they've actually done some amazing stuff. They put out 50 kits a week, and have been for quite some time now. And there's more people call for them, and they're all gone. They're all called for, and spoken for. So. We've done some pretty amazing things. If one thing we've done is try to engage the youth, and if you ever get the chance, you should go check out our youth center. I spent a couple of years fighting hard to pull that youth center together, and and now that we have this excellent staff, it's really awesome, and we actually have our own kitchen in there now. So once COVID's over, we'll get back into cooking lessons and everything else. So. if you get the chance, yeah, go for a tour. Our director up there would be very happy to show you around, and it's virtually right across from Reinhardt's Vinegar, so that's where it is.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much, Terry, for joining us. If you want to stay with us, you're welcome, because we're having a bit of a discussion here on some of the vision ideas for what this committee might do. And yeah, I know you've got some creative ideas there, so don't be afraid to jump in. Our CAO would be sitting here, but for now, Terry, you can chip in that role. How's that? So, council or committee, if you've got any ideas, we're going to move on to item number 9, which is our business. So this is just this will be anything that's new in our that's come up between meetings. Anything that you'd like to bring forward, this is where you can put something in as members. I put these items on here simply because we just want to have a quick discussion to get to know each other. And so I'm wondering if you could give us an idea what you think the vision of what this committee can do. And if you got any ideas off the top of your head about what we could do to support businesses and support economic development in our community. Going to put you on the spot. You ready for this? I'm looking around.
Which one are you looking at?
I'm looking at Judith. You're going to go first. Yay, there you go.
I guess my thoughts on the committee are straying a little bit away from the tourism recreational side of it and more on the economics. To me is business, hardcore business. Spin-off, I'm going to steer a lot because that's my umbrella.
Here. That's okay.
But if you're employing full-time people in good paying jobs, their spin-off into the other industries like restaurants and foodland and drugstores and is going to benefit. So my heart of a committee like this is how do we attract business and retain it in all areas? Like, I'm not ignoring tourism, but I think we need to look at economics as a whole. We're in a township now that has one bank. How do we retain business if they can't function? I have 6 staff members this year that have bought houses, and only 3 of them could afford houses in Clearview Township. That's important to me. If you are losing, and demographic wise, these are people in their ages from 25 to 35. Those are the families we want to keep in Clearview, because they are going to fill your schools, fill your arenas, fill your libraries. If we can't employ them and house them in the township, then that is economics to me. If we can't keep that circle here, then we're going to lose some of that spin-off. We're going to lose our essential services, our medical centers, or our, they're going to go to bigger areas where the families are living. So that's my thoughts on what our focus should be on.
Excellent points. Thank you, Judith. I appreciate. I wrote down right away, you said attract and retain business. I think that's a key element to success of any community, and this community has had some successes in that of retaining. We've got some businesses that have been here for hundreds of years. Reinhardt's, for instance, is a long-standing business right here in our community. Hamilton Brothers is another one I think of that's a long-standing business right here in our community. So there are some of those businesses around. Certainly, there's a lot of them that are, have had a shorter lifespan or shorter term, and they've had great successes too. And so, the different sectors, in my thoughts, are of the economic wealth of our community, has some that are long term and some that are very short. So, attract and retain is an important aspect to me too, Judith. I appreciate you bringing that up. Great. Right on. Bill, I'm going to go to you next. You got any vision ideas on where you think what we can do as a committee?
I think Judith hit the nail on the head. With all the new housing and people coming into town, we need to have jobs for those people. And I know you don't just pick jobs out of the hat and hope for the best. What we did back in my Markham days, we zeroed in on an industry that we wanted. And that was, in those days, it was the silicone. We became the silicone of the North, Silicon Valley of the North. We couldn't take over LA, but we got it going. And what we did, we actually went out and found somebody in the computer industry. It was, in its infancy then, and brought them on the Economic Development Committee. And I guess you could almost say it was that was bait. We baited the hook, and that's what brought a lot of them in. So I don't know if there's something we can do that way. We can maybe pick an industry or a few industries that we want to zero in on. I don't think it's practical to just throw a blanket out there and say we just want people to come in here and start up. We got to find a way to attract, find what works, and go out and find those people or industries, the businesses.
For sure. For sure.
You know, maybe it's something to do with cider. We've got apples and cider all over the place here. I don't know.
Well, if you look across our community, we do have an awful lot of opportunities. There's a great diversity of business in our community for sure. That's difficult today to focus on a specific industry, but it's a good idea to be aware that we need to look at opportunities that are regional as well. You know, I was thinking of the work that Barry does at the Economic Development Committee in the county. You know, from a county point of view, they're looking at, you know, major employers as well as new high technology. And we just had a press release come out of the county today talking about a business that's going to bring autonomous drones to the Lake Simcoe Regional Airport. So, I mean, that's a serious technological sort of high-tech, high-paying type of job, but also very responsible too. So, I get what you're saying, Bill, and I'm thinking that that's a really good idea for this committee to come up with that target. Maybe we need to just sort of keep that on our mind and let that develop, because I wouldn't say we'd be able to set that tonight by any means. Would you agree?
No, I'm just saying, but it's a target we could go for.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I see Jen's put up there industrial park. It's true. We do have some lands that have recently been purchased in the industrial park in Stayner. And that development is moving ahead there. There's going to be some jobs coming out of that. There's 3 different buildings, I believe, being built. And one's a small manufacturer. The other one's a warehousing operation. I'm not sure what the third one is, but we'll do some investigating on that. So we can update you on that as well. So that's great. Thank you, Bill. Jen, what do you think about vision for the community or vision for the whole committee? What type of work we can do, do you think that can help?
Well, I think building on what Judith and Bill have said, there's sort of 3 legs of this stool as I see it.
Yep.
The first and most acute would be to support local businesses as we progress through the COVID period and try and bring in any type of short-term programs that we can to really quickly triage any situations that we can in order to put more local money into the local area. So just keeping that there. What those programs look like and what we've done in the past, I think that there's real opportunity there just to revisit and see what we've done and what has worked, and also bring in potentially new programs to support those local businesses. So I think that that's our most acute need. Unfortunately, where we are in terms of acute need is also something that's going to take a little longer to roll out, which is a longer term plan for housing development, affordable housing development, to bring in new families into the area, sort of to speak to what Judith was saying. Now, I think one of the challenges that we have now is that there is a mass exodus from major urban centers that's occurring as we speak. And these are families that are able to now get a mobility that they haven't in the past. And I think that Clearview could really take a big piece of that pie. I think the development in the Clearview area has been focused on certain specific core areas, and I think that we can spread the wealth across a wider area. So I think that bringing in new families into affordable units is also a key focus, or should be. And I understand what we're saying about not wanting to focus on tourism support at this time, but that is a huge part of what makes Clearview so interesting and exciting. So I also want to make sure that we're laying the table for tourism support when it does start to come back, because when it does, you're going to see this tsunami of tourism activity. And we want to make sure that Clearview is top of mind for people when they do make that important decision. To speak to all of that, now that I've just sort of said my three legs of the stool, I also want to say that the scope of the committee is very broad.
Sure.
So I think that it would benefit everybody if we narrowed the focus to a more laser focus, because otherwise we could be running in all sorts of different directions with a very big mandate. And I think we all want to get some success under our belts. So I think that narrowing that down would be very helpful.
I couldn't agree more, Jen. To be frank, I've been very open about, I wanted to hear from you guys as to where you want to take this committee. As the mayor, I have a lot of people ask me a lot of questions, and I get conversations with members of our council, members of our staff. And so in this role, sometimes I can get very narrow because I only hear those things. And this COVID thing has caused a great deal of strain to politicians, and the fact that we don't hear from the public enough. We only hear, inside the box. And so I'm really glad to hear you say that, because you're right. I would hope that this committee can get a focus, get some successes, and get some wins in the remaining 2 years that we have in this term, and set the stage for us to move forward as a committee in the next years ahead. So thank you for that, Jen. Very observant of you to pull up the three-leg stool scenario, because that's exactly what we are right now. Good job. Appreciate that. Barry, I'm going to go to you. Barry, you got any visions or thoughts on this? You and I have talked a lot about this in the past, but share with what this committee might want to hear from that.
People have heard me say this many times, and I'll repeat it again. I have a vision, and my vision is that Clearview becomes a place where people can move here, live here, go to school here, grow up here, get good paying jobs here, and retire here. Right? So they can spend their whole lives here, spend it here. And there's a lot of things we have to deal with to make that vision happen. And, there's my mandate right now is taxes, taxes, taxes. We need more tax dollars. And the best way to get that, so the residential development is starting to happen, and that sort of council and our planning department, we're working on that. I would have liked to seen the development happen a little faster, but in order to get that development, one of the problems we're at right now is we need to invest money into infrastructure, and infrastructure costs a lot of money. And as much as the province says they're willing to help, but they want to make you go through a whole bunch of hoops and loops to give you a little bit of money, and actually they've cut back some of our funding because we operate too efficiently. So that's one of the problems. So we need to invest money into infrastructure. We need to attract industry here. We need to attract good paying jobs, and keep them. And the other thing I think we need to do is we need to encourage entrepreneurship. And, there's lots of entrepreneurs out there who need encouragement. I know that the county has an entrepreneur program where they help fund. There's various programs around to help funding. I think we need to be in a position to put funding forward. If we want to attract, XYZ manufacturer to come here, and I think we're looking for small to mid-sized manufacturers. I don't think we're looking for the Hondas or anything like that, but we're looking for, the manufacturer is going to come here and create 20 jobs, or maybe 25 jobs, and maybe something a little bigger up to 40 jobs. But I don't see us being a Honda or that right yet. We have two airports. We have two airports in our township. The Collingwood Airport, which is in Clearview, has been bought out by a new owner who's investing big money into it. And council has given me direction to work with them to try to develop some of their needs, and that's moving forward slowly. COVID hasn't helped, so it's created a lot of issues. But I think at the end of the day, we need, if it wasn't for COVID, we need to be down in at these various industrial shows they have and say, come to Clearview. You have to go knock on doors. You can't just do websites and that. You have to go knock on doors and go, why don't you come to Clearview? Here's what we can offer. You know, we're minutes away from the longest freshwater beach in the world. We're minutes away from great ski hills. So it's the lifestyle they can have up here. And that's one thing we promote at the county level. It's the lifestyle. You can have it all. You can live, work, and play here. And it's all within this region. So along with that, though, we got to deal with the affordable housing issues because, you know, what's happened in the market has gone bizarre. I mean, I could not afford to buy my house today. I could not afford to come and buy my house and live here today. So that's the reality. I'm happy to say that Clearview Council has started an affordable housing reserve for our seniors so that our seniors can remain here. But we also need to work on other affordable housing issues, and county is very big at that. And I've had some successes with county. We actually put $4 million aside for affordable housing for small development areas like us. And we weren't ready at the time, but we had a success and we built a 45 unit in Victoria Harbor, Little Victoria Harbor. We built a 45 unit affordable housing center. So people who are working in Midland and Penetang and all that area, you know, creating an affordable house. So that's something we have to look at. We definitely we want industry. Not everybody's going to be a high-end earner in industry, but we want, you know, reasonable wages where people can come here and buy a house. So we have to look at affordable housing. So they're also interlocked with each other. That we have to work on that. So lots of issues we need to work on, but my goal is let's get some industry here. Let's get some jobs here. Let's get some tax dollars here.
Thank you, Barry. Judith, Barry's comment there speaks pretty directly to what you said about some of your employees looking for that affordable housing, right? And that program that Barry mentioned, over there in Victoria Harbor, is exactly that. The people that are there have jobs in other communities, but they live there, and that's okay. Because to be honest, there's a lot of people from our community in Clearview who, live here but work somewhere else.
Yeah.
And certainly anybody who lives in this region. I know, Jen, you might be maybe the newest person here to our region, but there is no doubt that Blue Mountain Resorts is an very significant economic engine to this entire region. And while it was closed for some 2 months, the entire region was hurting, right? It's not just Blue Mountain, it's everybody. So we have to be acknowledged that and recognize that we're part of that whole thing. And so we have to be aware of that, what's going on regionally. So anyway, guys, that was really great discussion. I would encourage you to take some of this discussion and think about it, because if you've got some ideas about where we need to go, I would ask you that perhaps at our next meeting, we set a couple of our, short-term goals and long-term goals, and then we can really move us forward. One of the things I put on was we don't have to be exact, but I put on tourism brochures and services available developments, industrial lands. So the reason I asked for tours and brochures is to speak to what Barry just mentioned about, if you go to a show and you want to say, come to Clearview, Terry, we have our awesome book that we produce twice a year, right? And it's sort of for local information. It doesn't say why you need to come here. It really focused on our local residents. And so, while that's nice and that's good, and it serves that purpose, it doesn't serve the purpose that Barry just mentioned about doing an attractive piece. So some type of brochure that's either an EDC type brochure or a tourism brochure. To be fair, in 2006, this community had a sort of a map affair. On the one side of the paper, it had a map of Clearview Township laying out some of the neat things you can go see. But on the other side, it talked about the different businesses, talked about great restaurants, talked about major employers. And so it was a two-page type of thing that was folded up, sat in a rack card at all the tourism offices. So it kind of did dual purpose. Unfortunately, as soon as you print something, as you all know, they go out of date like that. So somehow you got to create the material that then can be updated quickly and efficiently, right? So anyway, that's why I put that on there, something for us as a committee to talk about. We have a very good communications person, Drew, who is one of our staff members here, who can help us with that type of thing. And I know if we were to put something together, I would put my finger on Terry's shoulder and ask Terry and Amanda help us with that as well. So anyway, that's why I put that on the agenda, something for us to talk about. Anybody thought about what we could do to support creating some type of document or a flyer or a brochure that we can use to help attract? Any comments on that? Jen?
May I ask why it has to be a brochure or something printable?
It doesn't have to be. Conventionally, I would always hand somebody something to somebody, right? I give them a pen. Here you go.
Yeah.
Something that they take home with them, or that gives them something to feel that they've received something, right? Maybe that's a traditional way of doing things. Have you got another idea or a suggestion?
Well, I'm just wondering if you don't want to print something that could go out of date quite easily, you can create an evergreen piece of material that won't go out of date, that directs somebody to more information, a website, a social profile, a microsite. You can capture their information that way. You can track where they're coming from. You can then remarket to them. So there's a way of getting them into that sort of marketing funnel that doesn't have to rely on a piece of paper being physically printed and distributed sort of all the time consistently. It also reduces man hours on the printable end. It also allows you, from a website perspective, to do so much more in terms of interactive video tools that people come to expect nowadays.
Absolutely, I agree. So that's the kind of thing we want to talk about as a committee and see if we can get that moving. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, Jen brings up a lot of really good points. Just an idea I want to share with this committee is that, we really think that we're stuck in this timeline where we have this print versus electronic media. It's we think COVID now has really, made electronic media, some of the ideas that Jen is talking about, it's really sped that up. But unfortunately, a lot of our tourism stakeholders in our township, a lot of the mom and pops, they're not there yet. They want to get there, but they still rely on print. So we're still stuck in that. Eventually we're going to be all electronic. Print's going to be a thing of the past. But I still think we're still stuck in that little phase where we're kind of in between. We still have to do a little bit of print, and we have to do a lot of electronic type of advertising. But I know in the last year and a half, print has really started to lose its luster. You're not seeing any more of these books. We didn't print the book last year. We're not printing it this year as well. So you're slowly starting to see the print phase out. But it's to convince our stakeholders, especially the older school style stakeholders, to start promoting their businesses by electronically versus the print. And one more idea, if I can share, Mayor Measures, with you, is that in Clearview Township, you're talking about vision, and unfortunately, we don't have that big hotel yet. We do have some bed and breakfasts, but we really don't have that big hotel. It's really hard to ask folks to stay. They visit our area, they love our area, but at the end of the day, I think we're still that means to an end. I think Clearview Township is the means to the end between Barrie and Collingwood, or Toronto and Wasaga, whichever way you want to look at it. People are traveling through our location. They'll stop, they'll eat, they'll buy gas, they'll buy all kinds of stuff, they'll visit our trails, but then they leave. So I think in our marketing campaigns and our marketing initiatives, we really need to focus on getting them to stop here and stay here for a couple hours. Enjoy because we know they're moving on. They're not staying here. We don't have that big hotel here yet. So when you're thinking ideas of how to get them to go into our restaurants and from a tourism perspective, that's we're still that means to an end. But with all that being said, Your Worship, I still think Judith and Bill and Jen, you guys nailed it. The foundation to anything is getting people to live here. That's the house. That, no pun intended. That's the foundation. You can go get that big lure, Bill. But if they can't move here and they can't stay here, it's all for nothing. You really need, and it's complicated. I'm going to be anxious to watch this committee and see how you come up with some of these ideas, because it's an extremely complicated project on how do you get folks to buy those homes. I personally live in Wasaga. There's not even a house to rent in Clearview, in Stayner. I'm renting a home in Wasaga, and I make a pretty good wage, and I still can't afford myself to buy a home, in this area. So I'm one of those people, and I've been living here for 4 years. So it is the biggest problem. We like to talk about tourism. It's that sexy project that people like, but at the end of the day, it's all about the housing. Judith, you absolutely nailed it. And I'm really happy that you mentioned that. If I could just share some thoughts.
Thanks, Terry. No, you know what? Judith is right. It is about housing. It is about keeping people jobs. And so there's a lot to think about here, guys. I don't want to dwell on this much longer. Go ahead, Judy.
Just to add something, I think you need to reflect back on the last 12 months through COVID, what shut down and what didn't. We had a very diverse economy in Clearview. Tons of places didn't even feel a blip. Like the construction industry, the gravel guys, they were going 100%. Builders, when they weren't restricted, they had work lined up. We didn't stop. The agricultural sector didn't stop. So we were very lucky compared to other, like if you look at the town of Blue Mountains, with Blue Mountain shut down, that spinoff was massive into the restaurants and everything. Where Clearview, I think we kind of, the people that were still working, supported local. Like we made sure we were encouraging, if there was a special on a Wednesday night, schnitzel night at Quincy's here in town, I think 3 times now our staff has stayed after work, ordered 17 dinners. So I think that is by diversifying and keeping those industrial economy going. This tourism, like Terry said, is a drive-through tourism. We're never going to have that resort atmosphere. They're going to stop, play golf, stop and shop or whatever. But we need to keep that base going on the economy, because if another pandemic comes, we'll still be working.
Agreed indeed. Thank you, Judith. I appreciate that. And that's awesome. And Quincy's is excellent, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, committee, thank you for this. Again, take home some of these thoughts, think about it, and we look forward to another good discussion in our next meeting. The last item I want to talk about was what day works for you? I'm going to look over to Jen Kane Percy here, because she is the scheduling master, as I said to you before. So is this a comfortable day for you, or what's your schedules? I mean, have you got an idea what we want to do? Do we want to meet once a month? Do we want to meet once every 2 months? What's your thoughts here, guys? It's traditional to be once a month, but
we should clarify, are we going to do evening meetings or daytime meetings? I think we should clarify that too. I don't know. I mean, you and I are typically more available during days, but I don't know about the rest of our members.
Go ahead. Whoever wants to go up first.
I'm fine. Like during the day, I can manage. My boss is pretty flexible.
Okay. We can steal an hour away, right? Because I would like the meetings to be about an hour long. We've got a little bit longer because we had a little workshopping there, but I'd like to be about an hour if I could, if that's comfortable.
And I'm wondering if our next meeting should be a little quicker because we've talked about so much.
For sure. Yeah, our next meeting would be quicker for sure.
I mean, time, like not a month away, because we've got our thoughts going. Maybe we should go a little sooner.
Sooner instead of quicker.
Yeah,
right.
Sorry.
That's a good word. Yeah, we can do that. Sure.
That's
Jen,
just my thoughts.
What's your thought there, Jen? You know what schedules look like?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the schedule now. So is everyone's okay to meet during the day then? During the week, during the day? No, not Jen.
No, I'm sorry. I can't guarantee they'll have a slot available every single week during the day.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Bill, what's your thought?
For me, late in the day is better, but whatever.
I have a question.
Go with whatever
like I prefer to meet like early evening like this, 5:30 or even 4:30. So that these sort of our evening, like this is my 4th meeting of the day. So I've been doing nothing but Zooming with about a 1 hour break in between. It's been Zoom. And we did a 6-hour Zoom meeting yesterday. So 6.5 hours.
let's establish a time then. Is
Yeah, so I don't mind getting earlier evening rather than later evening type thing, so.
Jen, you're okay with that?
Yeah,
I'm
I was,
gonna pull Jen too. I'm gonna have to do this right. Gen 1, Gen 2. Jen Kane, Jen White. Again, so I'm just thinking, you guys just give me an idea of the time. Is 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in that neighborhood? Is that what you're thinking?
4:30?
4:30.
I like 4:30.
Judith, what's your schedule? Is that?
I'm fine. Fine, check. What's Jen? She seems to be the one more restricted.
Jen?
I'm good. 4:30 and beyond is pretty good.
Okay. So between 4:30 and 5:30, we'll try to set a time. And now let's look at a day. What is a day of the week that makes anybody comfortable or not so comfortable? If I don't mind you saying I can't do Mondays, because we often have our council meetings on Mondays.
Yeah, and Thursdays are not particularly good because I have NEC. I do Niagara Escarpment on Thursdays. So now it's only once a month, and I'm the third Thursday of each month. But I mean, I could do other Thursdays, but I mean, we're often, we start at 12 and we go to like 5:30, 6 o'clock. So that's
Any other comments about days?
So Tuesday seems to work. Tuesday seems to work for me. So, but I can be,
Okay, Jen? Judith? Bill?
Tuesdays, I have nothing. Everything's closed, right?
Okay.
All the
there you go.
social side of life is down, so.
All right, Bill, is that comfortable then for you on Tuesday? I don't know what's going on with my internet, so. Okay. Thumbs up, everybody okay on Tuesdays? Tuesdays, okay, Jen Kane Percy, look at Tuesdays, somewhere between 4:30 and 6 o'clock, something like that,
Okay.
about an hour. And the good recommendation from Judith was maybe we could meet earlier than 1 month. So if I was to suggest to you guys that the 6th is the next Tuesday of April, and the reason I would suggest that one only because our new CAO will have already started work and can join us at that meeting. Is that comfortable to you guys?
Sure.
April 6th? All right, Judith, you're good with that? Okay, Jen Kane Percy, can you sort that out? Make sure the committee's all up to date.
will
Good
do.
stuff. All right, committee. We're all good? All right. I don't have anything else. Do you guys have anything else?
Nope.
Thank you for joining the committee. Thank you for your contributions. I really appreciate it so far. And we'll prepare an agenda and set it out for our next meeting.
Great.
Excellent. I have to read this formal recommendation. Be it resolved that Clearview Economic Development Advisory Committee be adjourned, and it'll be at 5:52 p.m. Can I have a mover and seconder? Who's got that? Jen and Judith. Jen and Judith, all in favor. There you go. Thank you. Thanks very much, team. All the best. Thank you, Terry, for your contributions today, and we appreciate you very much. Have an awesome night, folks. Stay in touch.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Pleasure to meet everybody, and nice to see all the rest of you back again. So cool, good. Sounds exciting.
Thanks, Barry.
Take care.